Hi, everyone, and welcome back to News Writing. I hope you guys had a good spring break. I have been grading some of your work. I've gotten through all the Unit 4 database discussion posts that you submitted. It was really great to see you guys are very passionate about some of those stories that you worked on, and I was really excited about that. I think a lot of you did a really good job. You had a really thoughtful amount of analysis and research that you brought to the table. So good job. I've gotten through almost all of the crime statistic assignment stories, in which you're doing a good job with those too. I'm emailing you back with some notes and critiques that I have of those, as well as with your grades. And I should have those completed by Wednesday. So moving on, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to do Unit 7 this week. This is story organization and story forms. Students are going to learn about the methods of organization and how to develop a writing process, learn about pacing, how to write transitions, the importance of revision and types of endings, learn how to visualize story shapes, learn how to plan the structure of stories, and learn different forms of stories. We have a discussion, which will be due on Friday. An assignment will be due on Sunday. And for this week, you're going to read Chapter 8, Story Organization, and Chapter 9, Story Forms. So let's go over those chapters just a little bit briefly. Chapter 8, Story Organization. Writing news these days is like speed dating. You only have a few minutes to make decisions about the story before you post parts of it on Twitter or on the web. You don't have the luxury of time to agonize over the lead or organization of a story. So how can you develop a writing process that works in this age of digital delivery? Before you turn on your computer, you need to turn on your mind. You still need to develop a writing process, but the most important steps may be before and after you write the story. So this is something that we deal with every day. I have reporters that have to go out there and do everything. They have to, we find a story, I send them out to get the sound, to interview people. They come back to the station. They go through everything. They start writing their stories. They have to edit it. I have to edit it. Then they record it. They make and more editing is involved. They have to do a web story. We do promos. And sometimes that's all just in one day. And sometimes it's day after day after day. So you have to get quick and you have to get fast at doing this. And you have to make decisions. You can't just sit around and putz and wait. And it comes with time. You get better and better at it, and you just have to have confidence, and you have a strong constitution of your journalistic integrity and what you believe in and what you think is going to work for a news story. And every day you just get better and better and faster and confident in your decision making. So stages of the writing process, there are 4 coaching method steps: conceive, collect, construct, and correct. Conceive the idea. The idea for a story may start with information from blogs, an assignment from an editor, a breaking news event, or a topic you propose. So I get asked this question a lot. Where do you get your stories from? One thing is that most news organizations, they have one email that's just going to be their news email. It's like news@wskg.org would be for my station, news at whatever. And we get all of our press releases from elected officials, from different organizations. That's their way. They send things to us, and I go through that every day. There's 100, if not hundreds of emails I go through with what people are sending out and what they want media coverage of. So we go through that. I'm looking at different news organizations, different local news. What else? What are the other organizations covering? What are the other outlets covering? Can we do a story on that? Can we advance a story further? So those are just a couple of ways that we're deciding what stories that we want to pursue. Although you may have an initial focus that can change after you gather the information, these questions will help you determine a focus before, during, and after the reporting and writing process. What struck you as the most interesting or important? What's the most newsworthy? What is the main point of the story that readers or viewers need to know or would want to know? Collecting the information, consider the focus as you do the reporting. It's especially important when you have to post information quickly. What stands out in your mind is the most important and newsworthy idea. So you get the basics, the who, what, when, where, why, how. Take notes. Tape interviews for audio and video. Note the information and background that you need. Highlight, underline your notes, gather anecdotes, think ahead, collect documents, verified names, and spelling. Construct the story. So you want to write a focused sentence on top of your story as a tool to help you select the pertinent information. Here are some ways to determine your focus. Write a headline of your story in fewer than 10 words. Express your focus as a tweet in a Twitter post, because we know those have to be limited. Determine the most newsworthy, important, or current information. Decide what point would elicit a response from readers or viewers. And I've done this before. If you have to write a headline at some point anyway, so sometimes maybe why not try to do it the first chance you get, right when you get back from getting your sound or your information. I've also done it in a tweet. How do I summarize what's going on here in a tweet? And that's like going to help me to focus as a story. So this is like some good advice. Plan in order. Highlight or underline your notes for important points, good quotes, or sound bites. Then jot down a preliminary order in your notes or at the top of your story document. Here are some ways to organize your story: topics, highlights, time sequence, block sources, question and answer, image and sound bites, free writing, ending. We're going to go through some of these, but this will be good for you to go through. Another good point, when you go to a press conference that's 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes long, you don't have time to come back to the station and go through all of that again in detail. You're listening, when you're at the event, you're listening to it for the first time. You need to make notes. That was a good quote. That's a good quote, so that when you get back to the station, you know exactly what you want to use. And correct the story before you turn in your story. Revise and correct your work. Even if you are writing on deadline or posting to the web, don't skip this step. I've said this to you guys too as well. Proofread your work. I know you get your ideas in your head, you're writing them down, you think they're great. Everyone needs to read it through one more time before you hit submit, because there's always something that you miss, and usually I'm the one catching it and looking at it. So you might as well be the first to catch these little mistakes that sometimes get made before I see it, or before the public would see it. Read your story aloud. Have you covered the basics? Context. Have you included background or context to help readers understand what's going on? Check the accuracy. Avoid adjectives. Show, don't tell. Use vigorous verbs. Purge any parroting. Cut useless or excess words. Edit the pace. Check grammar. Cut jargon. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. When you're planning your story, think how social media could be used. Organizational techniques. The two most common problems of professional writers are writing the lead and organizing the story. And here are some techniques that help you write well from start to finish. Leads. Many writers insist they can't write the rest of the story until they find their lead. That is a luxury you can't afford when you need to file something quickly. To find your lead, ask yourself these questions. What will hook the reader or viewer's attention? What does the reader or viewer need to know to understand? What is the story about? Write a lead that's going to follow with your strongest quote. Write the focus graph or summary even before your lead if you want to. Transition techniques. How do you get from one point to another smoothly? The